And a glorious Monday to you. It's not really glorious, it's a Monday. We all freaking hate them. So, as we reach the precipice of the next generation of consoles, we are but like 53 days from the Xbox One and like 46 days from the PlayStation 4. You gotta do math for that sort of shit. That I don't do ahead of time because I'm too stupid to do that. But as we reach there, we're seeing, and I made an episode about this last week, I think, about how, we're reaching the end of this current generation, and as a result, we're seeing, like, the best of what developers can do with the limited resources of those consoles. But consoles changed when they first came out. You look at what was available on the NES, that was it. They could only do a couple of tones at a time. They only had so much processing power. And as a result, they weren't so much hindered in the sense that they were actively discouraged from doing anything because of the hindrance. They were instead challenged. And that's something that I think all developers recognize as a generation carries on, because this generation carried on for probably the longest ever in video game history, all things considered. I mean, min spec for a lot of games has been 512 megabytes of RAM for the past couple of years, even though your phones, this thing, I don't know exactly how much RAM's in it, but I'm assuming it's definitely more than 512 megs. It's probably at least 2 gigabytes or something. As memory allocation changes, you see how what games can do really change. And I think that as we're going into this next generation, we're seeing what developers are doing with, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One with, 8 gigabytes of RAM and, much more powerful processors and teraflops of computing power versus what they had now. And, certainly right now, it's visual. Mainly. I mean, that's clearly the big thing that is going to set apart, the Xbox One version of Call of Duty Ghosts from the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 from the PlayStation 4 is just straight up visually, it's going to look different. And, that's good. Having an improvement in visuals means that we have a set standard, which is always nice. But visuals at a point will stop improving in resolution. I don't know when. When eventually they start being beamed like right onto your eyes or some shit, maybe. But graphically speaking, we're gonna hit a wall somewhere along the line. We don't know where yet, but we will. And I think it's important that when you think about what happened sort of midway through this generation in the sort of the independent developers becoming popular, they instead focused on making the art style stand out versus making it amazing. But they still made it amazing. They just didn't focus on like the hyper details in ways that larger developers did. And this is the strength of an independent developer, in that they have to focus their resources differently. It's not that they don't have the access to those same resources or that they can't make those same resources. It's just that it's easier to make those resources fit differently. And as this generation starts, this upcoming generation, it's very clear that independent developers are going to have a big role in it. In selling consoles, I'm still up in the air about that. I still don't think that one single game from one single developer is going to sell you a console, no matter which game it is or which developer it is. I don't think that. Well, some people certainly can, but I personally can't justify spending $500 or $400 plus additional stuff just to play one game. It doesn't sound right to me, which is why the price difference between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One doesn't matter to me, because you're going to be spending more on games and extra controllers and battery packs and headsets and all this other sort of crap. So it doesn't matter. You're still going to be spending a lot. And it's important to recognize that as game development has evolved and as the generation goes, at the beginning of the generation, you have that ultimate freedom of this is so much more than we've ever had before, at least in terms of consoles. You look at a PC, you just have to consider like every single possible fucking specification in human history, which, you know, some people bitch about their weird setup of 29 by 4 and, you know, they're running off of 87 megabytes of RAM or whatever. It's, you know, you can't attest to everything, which is ultimately why consoles are considered more profitable right out of the gate, because, you know, everyone has the same setup more or less. They always have the same setup. As a result, you're able to, you know, guarantee that everyone's going to have the same thing. You can only develop through one standard for that single system, and you're good. But, you know, as the generation carries on, within those first, like, you know, two years or so, you see some interesting games coming out, but you don't see, like, well, what some people consider, like, not truly next gen in the sense of everything feels new. And I think it's a result of gameplay sort of having a cap off. Not because we're not willing to experiment, but because experimentation doesn't sell. People are willing to experiment with games, but sometimes their experiments just don't go anywhere. And it's not because the game's bad. It's because we're kind of weird, us gamers. But that's not the point of this video. But, you know, in the next couple years is when you see sort of the golden era of a console. You look at the Xbox 360, you know, from 2007 to like 2010 or 11. That was like, I would say probably 2007 to like 2010 was just when the Xbox 360 was the dominant gaming machine. You know, say all you want, but in those years, the PC wasn't a very big platform until Minecraft came out, and independent developers really sort of captured the minds and the hearts of a lot of the gaming audience, which is its own sort of battle. And you look at the PlayStation, and that was sort of just like trailing behind, and the Wii was off eating paste. Sorry, Nintendo. But, you know, towards the end of the generation, when the 360's power was really sort of, you know, the 360 and PlayStation 3, when their power was really falling off, and independent developers recognized that it's a lot easier to make a game for the PC, you saw that shift. And that always brings in the question, how long should a generation be? Should it be really short 5-year bursts, sort of like, well, geez, the Xbox 360 was only 4 years? Or do you need to run long, like this generation has with, you know, 8 years at the Xbox 360? And it's always a weird balance, because that's only 3 years. But Moore's Law is that every 2 years processing power doubles. And it's held true since he made that prediction in the 50s. Computer processing power has doubled every year. So Microsoft has said that they want that the Xbox has a beyond 10-year lifespan. That's probably them saying cloud computing is their game. One can only hope, right? I hope you think about what I've said today, because there's a lot to think about. We are on the precipice of a new generation. We're on the precipice of new technology, new engines, new games, new IP, new developers showing what they can do, and old developers falling by the wayside, as tends to happen. But I hope that no matter what you do for the next few months, you enjoy your gaming, whether it's a brand new game on an old system or an old game on a new system. Take the time to enjoy yourself, and don't get lost in the hubbub, in the bubble. Just enjoy yourself. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That was terribly spit out, but I shall see all of you